This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the official WrestleMania 40 preview and prediction show. I've got Anthony DeMarco here, pushing our regular show back a few days, but worth it here because we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 40, Night 1, Night 2, potential returns. The weekend is finally here after all of the hype, all the way really from last year's WrestleMania, thinking about this year's, and now here we are, and in just a few days, it'll all be over, and we'll be already talking about WrestleMania 41 next year, but obviously a lot to get through tonight, a lot to discuss, a lot of potential great matches, a lot of potential awesome returns coming as well. I think it's going to be a mix of the legends of yesteryear and today's stars, but Anthony, it's WrestleMania 40. What do you think?
I mean, it's kind of crazy. I came home from work earlier today and I looked at my girlfriend, and as she pretended to care, I said, "Can you believe that WrestleMania is tomorrow?" And obviously this is a special one on many fronts. I mean, you could look at it from several different angles as to why it's so unique. Obviously a big round zero 40. Every time they hit that 10-year milestone, it feels that much more important. The Rock's first match in 11 years, not counting the Eric Rowan debacle, obviously from 2016 at WrestleMania 32. Are we finally going to see the end of Roman Reigns' 3.5-year championship run? It really does feel like the dawn of a new era in WWE, and I think Cody Rhodes is actually trademarking the Renaissance era. And as corny as that may sound, and maybe as forced as it may sound to some, maybe he has a point. Maybe WrestleMania 40 is the official ushering into this new era, whatever that may be.
Yeah, then the problem is we hate anything that comes from Cody. So even if it was a great idea coming from Cody, it's automatically tainted. But no, that may not be the worst idea. And it is kind of a landmark. It's a reset. It's like you said, these round numbers have a little bit extra special feeling to them, and I'm with you. It doesn't feel like WrestleMania weekend, though. I have to get myself into the mode because both of us have been crazy busy with other things in our lives that you have to get yourself in that focus of in that mindset that it's WrestleMania weekend, and I think we'll be able to do that pretty quickly. But yeah, this is a special one, and if it's the Renaissance era or whatever they call it, or PG plus era, it does feel like there's something that's going to change after this year's WrestleMania. And let's dive into it because there is a lot to get to. Night 1 and Night 2, we'll get through every single match here. Of course, potential returns, and those will come throughout our predictions. So let's just dive in. Night 1, we'll start with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, not Carlito, to the fans' dismay, versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. So Rey and Dom, once again, facing each other, this time in a tag team match. Your thoughts and predictions on this one?
Well, look, I think it's a way to get Santos Escobar and Dom on the card, as well as Dragon Lee, but to a lesser extent. And as you mentioned, kind of bizarre because Carlito was the low-hanging fruit, has a built-in rivalry with Santos Escobar and the LWO and Legado del Fantasma. But obviously they view Dragon Lee as like the next coming of Rey Mysterio, and obviously a good worker. But I think it's going to be Dom and Santos. I think they have a lot to gain here. I think Rey Mysterio already beat Dom, so you don't have to, go back to the well with that. I really think that Santos Escobar in particular could use this big victory. So I'm going with Santos and Dom.
I'm going to echo that. I would agree that at this point, we need Dominic to get on some kind of roll. I think that as much as he's hated, I think he still loses too much. So this time for me, it's going to be a definitive Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar win. I don't care who takes the pinfall here. Ray got his victory over his son last year, so Dominic winning this year makes much more sense. I want Dom to get on a roll. I want him to be so hated. He already is, but I think he needs a deeper hatred. And I think that there might be something going on in the Judgment Day right now with Dominic undermining a lot of the decisions that are happening right now. There's a lot of tension, bringing in Santos, bringing in, Andrade. I think there's a lot happening that will post WrestleMania really start to see the makings of that, and maybe Dominic ends up, turning on Priest and turning on turning on Finn Balor, and then you have a new group formed under Dominic Mysterio, who was the mastermind behind it. I mean, really projecting out, but I think this could be the makings of that. And ultimately, just Dominic needs the victory here. So does Santos in his, for his defense. I think he had an amazing heel turn that really petered out over the last several weeks because they haven't paid attention to it, really is all it is. So Santos and Dominic need this way more than Rey Mysterio and Rey Mysterio Light do.
So, like, for you, do you think that it's more because of what Santos and Dom need over just Rey Mysterio kind of being the guy of yesteryear and Dragon Lee not that being that established yet?
Yeah. I mean, plus there's a lot more to do. I think they have more plans for Santos and Dom than they do Rey and Dragon Lee. But Dragon Lee is clearly, like you said, kind of the replacement for Rey. If that, maybe that's a little bit too much, but I think he's a guy that is going to get the rub from Rey, even though unfortunately he's going to stay under the shadow of Rey Mysterio forever, because everyone that ever comes in as a luchador with a mask is going to be compared to Rey, and they will never meet Rey's expectations. So I think it's about giving Dragon Lee that opportunity, but really more about just Santos and Dominic moving forward. I think that they could have, and have already shown on SmackDown, an alliance of sorts that really is going to be the fracturing of the Judgment Day as we currently know it.
Yeah, and there's not too much to dissect here. I think it's low-hanging fruit. I think that's why they were able to throw this match together with little build. Everyone knows what the beef is between the four men. Everyone knows what each guy could win from this or pull off of this. Like, it's a simple match. It's not going to blow the doors off. It's obviously going to be great from an in-ring perspective, but I think it is relatively, at least to us, obvious which team needs to walk away with the victory here. And that doesn't necessarily make it bad, but to me, it does seem predictable in a good way.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. This is one of those deals. It doesn't need to be unpredictable to be the right decision. The right decision and predictable are often the same. So, all right, let's move on. We've got the 6-woman tag team match here with Bianca, Naomi, and Jade Cargill making her in-ring debut outside of the Rumble, of course, against Damage Control. Not Bayley. Bayley's in her own match, but what do you make of this? And boy, is this, if there's ever a match to put money on, this one seems to be the one. I don't know anyone that's picking Damage Control, but maybe you'll convince me otherwise.
Well, no, not at all, because I feel like this is almost kind of like the counterpart to the match we just spoke about, but in a more extreme fashion. Man, like, there's no way Damage Control wins here. We know why this match was put together. We know probably that it's going to end with a hot tag to Jade Cargill, who's going to get the W over one of the members of Damage Control. If I had to take a guess, probably Dakota Kai. You'll probably see a spurt where Naomi's the babyface trapped in the ring, and there's being work put in on her by Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. But I mean, again, you cannot have an up-and-coming star like Jade Cargill making her first in-ring debut, other than the Royal Rumble, a returning Naomi, and Bianca Belair, who was kind of cast aside on this road to WrestleMania, lose to a group that, I don't want to say is boring, but is stagnant. They've done their job. They are who they are. They're the lackeys to Io Sky. They've done a fine job, but there's nothing for Damage Control to win out of this. It's all meant to give Naomi and Bianca a proper spotlight and obviously catapult Jade Cargill and show her off in a real match setting other than just the Royal Rumble that obviously is all over the place. So, I mean, again, much like the match we just talked about on the men's side of things, I don't think there's too much to dissect beneath the surface on this women's 6-man tag.
No, this one to me is, out of every match, and even Io Sky and Bayley, which is heavily favored on Bayley, as we all know, this one to me out of the whole card is the most clear that we have the victors be Naomi, Bianca, and Jade. And you're right, this is all about really Jade Cargill. If you're going to single it down to one person, it's about Jade Cargill's in-ring debut, with the workload being kind of diversified among the other 5 women. This is really what it is. I mean, they didn't feel confident in giving her a one-on-one yet, and that's fine. Ease her in, get her on the WrestleMania stage, and it's going to be about giving her a few minutes here, a few minutes there, giving her the hot tag, giving her the victory, of course. But, the other story is the fact that you mentioned it is Bianca Belair, who has been, she's main evented a couple of WrestleManias on the women's side, winning the championship twice, and yet she has been just as you said, cast aside or given a lesser role. It just is. Now, that doesn't mean that this isn't supposed to set up a Jade Bianca match at some point. Maybe we'll see some tension in this match between Jade and Bianca, which is going to further lead to an eventual match between those two, which has to happen. So I don't know if that tension will be shown tomorrow night or if it's just going to be something that eventually they'll get to. Either way, all three women really deserve it too. I mean, they're infinitely more interesting than Damage Control, Kairi Sane, and Naomi or Asuka and Dakota Kai. So this one is a slam dunk, close the door, lock it up, throw away the key type of decision for me, and that's a victory for those three women. So, all right, let's get to the six-pack.
There's nothing else to really break down.
No, there's not. I mean, there's really not, and that's okay. It can be that simple, and I'm okay with it. So. All right, six-pack challenge, the six-pack tag team ladder match for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship. We have Damian and Finn, R-Truth and Miz, DIY with Ciampa and Gargano. We have the New Day of Xavier and Kingston, Theory and Waller, and then Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in what is going to be, I think, a car crash match. And that's in a good way, I hope. I really hope no one dies in this match. I mean, like, really, my concern is the actual health and safety of the men in this match for real, but let me get your thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a 12-person ladder match. It's going to take a hell of a lot of planning from these guys, like show aside, like from just a real life point of view, they are going to have to really have all their ducks in a row before they go out there. It is going to be so chaotic. I think the largest ladder match I've ever seen was 8-person in Money in the Bank. And even at that, it started out as a 6-person, I believe, back at WrestleMania 21. 12 people, I mean, I wish them well. But as far as my prediction goes, I mean, it's a process of elimination, right? Like, New Day obviously isn't going to win. I don't think Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne are quite there yet. And then you're down to 4 teams with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. I mean, they certainly have a chance, but are they the ones to really walk away with the tag titles? I don't think so. Obviously, Judgment Day could retain, but we've just you alluded to it rather earlier, that maybe you are planting the seeds for a dissolution of that group. And I don't think that they really have much more to give to the tag team titles. It's actually felt that they've somewhat kept them hostage. DIY, I mean, probably a runner-up favorite because of, their history together in NXT, and I do think they have some kind of a backing. But to me, again, I think this is relatively obvious that it's going to be The Miz and R-Truth. Obviously, some wind has been taken out of the sails of R-Truth recently, but I still think the Philly crowd is going to be behind them. It'll give Miz a nice thing to do at WrestleMania. The last prominent match he had at Mania, if I'm not mistaken, was against Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 35, I want to say, and he lost that match too. So a good win for The Miz, a good win for R-Truth. Again, predictable, but not necessarily a bad thing, R-Truth and The Miz.
Oh, yeah. Once again, we're in lockstep. And we're 3 for 3 on that, but this is certainly better for The Miz than last year's getting knocked out by Snoop Dogg. Didn't he get knocked out by Snoop Dogg last year with one of the worst people's elbows?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
After Shane McMahon blew out his knee.
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit better for The Miz. But yeah, this is as I mentioned, it's a car crash match, not disrespectfully meaning it that way, but it's going to be. And I don't envy the announcers trying to call this match. It's going to be really impossible to call this match in a way that's digestible and not 500 miles an hour. I mean, this is going to be a crazy match, spot after spot. It's going to be a highlight reel after highlight reel. These guys are going to be bumped, bruised, maybe accidentally cut. Hopefully no broken bones in this match because it's WrestleMania. They're hyped up. Crowd's hyped up. They know what to expect from this. And it's going to be one of those oh my God, like you're looking for the X sign from the referee. Like it's going to be one of those matches. I just hope that they're all coming out of this, walking away from it, not being stretchered out. But ultimately, I'm with you. R-Truth and The Miz, I think, deserve it, especially R-Truth. I think that R-Truth will be the one to grab the belts. The crowd is going to be with him all the way, even though he's lost a little momentum over the last several weeks. It'll get right back with him. The crowd will get right back with him once he ends up climbing that ladder and capturing those championships. Other than that, like you said, Ciampa and Gargano, they're a mild favorite. Like I said, I think they're probably the second favorite, and then you have Xavier and Woods, who have. I mean, they don't need the belts they haven't needed the belts in about 8 years for New Day. So that's really the only two teams, and it's got to be R-Truth and The Miz. You're not going to give it to another heel team from a heel team that's already, as you said, held it hostage. So I'm looking forward to it, though. I mean, it's going to be one of those different style, 12 people in this match, which is nearly half of a Royal Rumble inside of this match in a ladder match. It's going to be wild. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. Probably 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, and I'm just nervous for them.
And I actually think this is a big time favorite to open up night one, because historically they've opened up WrestleManias with these ladder matches. I think 31 and 32 opened with the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. WrestleMania 23 opened with the Money in the Bank. So I think this would be a good option to set the tone right off the bat for Mania.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because especially, I mean, I'm thinking it's usually a babyface that opens the show. I mean, unless they have a host come out or something like Hogan makes an appearance or Undertaker comes out, which and I doubt it. But if they did, outside of that, the first match, yeah, you could easily have this be the first one, set the tone, crowd's hot, they're ready to go. It's going to be maximum energy for this match. So, all right, well, on from a 12-person match to a one-on-one. Jimmy versus Jey Uso. We get twin versus twin, brother versus brother, kind of a Civil War hangover match, if you will, that they, I think, have done as good of a job of getting you interested as you can be. I'm still not particularly loving this because I never really wanted it to begin with. Even when things are hot, I didn't really want to see them fight, but here we are. And I'm expecting a very good match. These two obviously can wrestle their asses off. And my personal pick is I'm choosing Jey Uso on this to beat Jimmy, and the probably a sign of respect after the match. Jimmy maybe starts to see the light. They give each other a handshake or a hug, and that's the way it goes out. That's kind of where I'm going with it, with a Jey Uso victory.
Yeah, I think it's Jey Uso. I did actually think maybe Jimmy would come out with this. I thought about picking him just because at WrestleMania 25, everyone expected Jeff to beat Matt, but Matt actually came out winning. And the Jeff and Matt dynamic was very similar, I think, to Jay and Jimmy, with Jimmy kind of being the disgruntled older brother living in the shadow of his younger brother who really found superstardom on his own. But I just think Jay needs this win. I think you need to give him some kind of big payoff for the last, 8 months that he's had, how much success he's found on Monday Night Raw. The one thing that I hope to God, unless there's a Rikishi special guest referee type of interjection here, I just want it one-on-one, no hanky-panky, no interference from Solo, no Roman. I don't even want Paul Heyman at ringside. I just want it one-on-one, clean finish, because I think these guys, based on how well they know each other, obviously they're brothers, how long they've been in WWE, I would imagine they've been wanting to do this match personally for a very long time. I just want to see what they can do in a classic wrestling match, mano a mano, no hanky-panky. That's the one thing I'm really hoping for, but like you, I'm going with Jay.
And no tables, no chairs. Yeah. We're going to get enough of that with the six-man ladder match, six-pack challenge. So, yeah, I mean, agreed. A straight-up wrestling match. The one thing that I meant to ask, like, what do you think the over-under is on the number of super kicks in this match?
Oh, my God. I mean, you'd have to set it at, 29 and a half?
Yeah, it's
going to be crazy. And look, it's going to be... It is what it is. I mean, the build kind of writes itself. They didn't have to dedicate too much one-on-one time for Jimmy and Jay, but you just have to hope that the build or the in-ring competition steals the spotlight. And, I remember AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. I believe it was WrestleMania 33. I think that was a WrestleMania you were in attendance for. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think, a build that everyone was just like, AJ versus Shane. Like, why would anyone want to see this? It doesn't make sense from a stylistic point of view. But that was one of the best matches of the night on what otherwise was, in my opinion, a very disappointing WrestleMania. So I'm hoping it's something to that effect.
Yeah, as I look back, I look back with anger that was one of the more awful WrestleManias in the last 10 years. It
was horrible.
It was bad. It was bad. I'm thinking back. I'm like, what was a memorable moment? Okay, the Hardys returned, and I'm angry because I actually took the one damn bathroom break during that return. So, like, out of the one moment that everyone lost their minds, I wasn't there. Undertaker and Roman had a terrible match. At the admittance of Undertaker, he hated it too. We all thought that was it for Taker. It wasn't good. I mean, it was awful from top to bottom. Now that I think about it, even though Bray Wyatt and Randy, awful. But all right, let's continue on here. We got so many more matches. Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. I think we're finally getting into the matches now that aren't so kind of lock it up type of decisions. with Gunther versus Sami. I know a lot of people are thinking Sami Zayn, but there's a lot of argument for Gunther to retain here. Before I give my answer, I'm going to hear yours.
Well, for me, I want to know what Chad Gable's involvement's going to be in all this. Is he going to be outside, trying to even the odds with Imperium, who we haven't really seen by Gunther's side in the last number of weeks, which I actually think is a good thing. But I just feel like Sami needs this moment. And more so than that, I feel like groundwork has been laid between Sami and Chad Gable to have a really nice run here over the course of probably several pay-per-views on Monday Night Raw over this championship, ultimately culminating with it going to Chad Gable. Because to me, Sami Zayn, and I hate saying this in a way, but you need these types of guys, is the perfect transition champion at this moment. To transition it off of Gunther and then go into a sequence with Chad Gable. And then ultimately give Chad Gable his crowning achievement. And even if that's at Backlash or Extreme Rules, it could still be a big moment. And I just think it's time for Gunther to move away from this championship picture. It's time for him to move on to bigger and better things. Maybe he goes into a program with Imperium in some way. I think he's already bordering on a babyface. I think him coming out in street clothes and a t-shirt and dressed in suits, I think that's really broadened his character, humanized him from just kind of like a war general flashback. So for me, I think that there's more to do with Gunther without the championship right now, and you've laid groundwork for Sami and Chad Gable beyond WrestleMania. So for me, I'm going with Sami Zayn, but it's anything but a guarantee.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the argument that anyone would say, not anyone, smart people would say, to make it that Sami Zayn wins this match. And it makes sense. You have a very, very believable guy to beat Gunther. You have a guy that the fans do love. You have a guy that is established. He has name recognition. And it makes sense if you're going to transition. And it's WrestleMania 40, which is a very pivotal event. And all of those ring very true. On the other side of it, Gunther could also continue his run where people thought it would end, just like with Roman last year, and continue the heel run for Gunther. Again, I know he doesn't have much left to prove, but what if he wins, Sami Zayn loses because Chad Gable, you would think he's out there to help Sami with Imperium. He ends up screwing Sami for the championship. Gunther retains, and then Gunther either on WrestleMania night after the match or at the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania claims there's no one left, and out comes Brock Lesnar, who's floating around. I mean, so if the Brock Lesnar factor is going to happen, I understand that him challenging for the Intercontinental Championship seems beneath Brock. I get it. But you know what? Gunther has added so much value to the IC title. Is there any chance of Brock winning it? No. But the match of Gunther and Brock could include the IC title, as weird as that is. So do you think Brock Lesnar could play a role at WrestleMania or the Monday Night Raw after, or maybe way down the line?
Sorry, say that again. You cut out quickly.
I said, do you think that the Brock Lesnar factor could come into play at WrestleMania after the match, Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, or do you think it could happen way down the road with Gunther?
I don't think at WrestleMania, just because of Chad Gable's involvement. Because at this point, Chad Gable's not involved here, but you clearly see that they want him to play some kind of a big factor. And Brock Lesnar would overshadow Chad Gable, who in turn is kind of overshadowing Sami Zayn, who could quite possibly be the man to dethrone the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in history. So there's a lot of overshadowing going on. And with Chad Gable, I think it's rightfully so. And, you know, you can make the argument that it should be Chad Gable. But I just think that if you bring in Brock Lesnar, then Chad and Sami Zayn, and by correlation, the Intercontinental Championship title swing would kind of be overshadowed completely.
All right. Well, then in that case, I mean, I haven't made my decision up until this moment. I'm going to go. I originally was going with Gunther, and I'm not just going to do it to be contrarian. I'm going to do it because I think it's the right call, and I think Sami Zayn is probably the right guy. Because as you mentioned, you could have Chad versus Sami for the Intercontinental title while Gunther moves on to bigger and better things, which I think he should at this point. And that doesn't mean immediately into the world title picture. It just means he could work with different guys, number one contenders for the title. He doesn't have to immediately get into it. But with Sami Zayn and Chad, we know what they're capable of. Hell, with the gauntlet match a few weeks ago when they ended it, an amazing finish. I mean, these two are going to have classic matches. So one way or the other, we're going to get Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable, and I'll agree with you on this one. I wasn't originally because of my convictions for Gunther retaining, but the more I think about it and talk about it, this is the kind of the right time to do it. He's broken every record you can break, and it's time for Gunther to move on and Sami to continue to work with Chad Gable, and you're going to get great matches out of that, and it's believable, and there's nobody really better on the roster right now. So, all right. Any final thoughts, or you want to continue on to the women's world title here?
No, let's get to the women's world title. This is going to be interesting.
Becky versus Rhea. You know, this one seems like a lock, right? Rhea Ripley should win, and that's my pick, by the way. But there is a case to be made for Becky to win. Not as strong, but Becky Lynch has gotten some momentum over the last several weeks. She's still not as interesting as she should be, not anywhere near it. But she has tried to feel different with her promos, her look a little bit. She's still leaning on WrestleMania 35's momentum, which has long passed her by from 5 years ago with Ronda and Charlotte. So I still don't think that Rhea Ripley is going to lose. I think Becky Lynch is I don't think Becky Lynch is going to win, but I don't think it's absolutely overwhelming Rhea Ripley wins. The crowd's going to be with Rhea. The crowd reaction is going to be interesting to see if they actually boo Becky Lynch. I'm interested on that end. But ultimately, I think the match is going to be really good. I have no concerns about the quality of this match. There's going to be kickouts and finishes all over the place, as always. So this is going to be a lot of fun if they get enough time. I just don't think it's Becky Lynch's. It wouldn't help Becky Lynch. I actually think if you're trying to keep her babyface, it would hurt her. I think the fans would feel like they've been kind of screwed out of a proper Rhea Ripley run, which I feel like over only the last few months has started to gain momentum, and the crowd's going to be with Rhea the whole time here. So for me, it's Rhea Ripley. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'll give them credit. They've made me care about this more with the build. I think they've had a pretty good build after several weeks of, Liv being involved and Nia being involved. And you haven't seen Nia and Liv on Monday Night Raw for several weeks here. And while they were doing their parts well, and hats off to Liv and Nia, you really need to make this about Rhea and Becky. And they had a nice touch by Becky showing up at the MMA hour when Rhea was doing her interview with Ariel Helwani, and the pull-apart brawls. I still despise the Becky Lynch character, the leather tracksuit with the leather baseball cap. Like, just everything about her makes my stomach turn. But in terms of the build, they've made me care. They've made me care in the way that I want to see Rhea Ripley squash her, but they're still making me care. Still think it was the wrong decision. I still think it should have been Bianca Belair. I still think that this is them doing, Rhea versus Charlotte 2.0. I think that they've already done her beating the gatekeeper of the women's division, but I understand it. For a lot of people, Becky Lynch is probably the bigger star than Charlotte Flair. And if you think about it, this is very akin to John Cena going back-to-back with Triple H and Shawn Michaels at 22 and 23, with Rhea going back-to-back against Charlotte and Becky Lynch. So, good on them for making me care, but I do think that Rhea is going to win. She has to win. And for me, much like Seth Rollins, her husband, I think Becky should take some time off and just go away for a bit.
I think, yes, time will be her best friend. If they don't want the fans to start to organically despise and resent her, I think it should be the best course of action, especially if Becky Lynch wins, I will say I don't think the fans are going to take kindly to Becky Lynch. I think if Becky Lynch wins, there's going to be some very negative reaction, a lot of negative reaction to her, especially on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. The fans are not going to be kind because it doesn't feel right. Again, Rhea Ripley's just getting going here. Fans have really been behind her since the get-go. She's a babyface, even though she's in a heel group. I think that Becky Lynch, though, again, the match quality is going to be really what I'm looking at here. But ultimately, I don't need any outside interference like with a lot of these other matches. It's not the time or the place for outside interference. So I don't need anybody trying to help Becky or help Rhea. This should be just woman versus woman here. Who's the better one? There's no questionable victories here, even though I know Rhea's the heel. You don't give, even for heels, you really shouldn't typically, as a general rule, outside of last year's match with Roman and Cody, you don't want a weird, wonky finish that you could do and make an excuse for at any other pay-per-view. So I'm for Rhea Ripley just getting a hard-fought, absolutely brought to the brink of her ability Rhea Ripley victory. Becky takes her to the absolute limit, as they say, and then Rhea Ripley gets the victory. And I think the crowd will love it. It's the right decision. I don't think we're ready for Rhea to end her reign yet. So, all right. You ready for the main event of night one? Here we go. The Rock. The Rock, the final boss, and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. And I don't have my prediction yet. I'm still on the edge of both of this because you could make an argument either way with interference. Does interference happen in this match? Does it happen on night 2? Or is it bloodline rules? But if it's there's so many, it's a spider web of possibilities here. I'm going to just give it to you to give your thoughts and predictions on this.
Well, for me, I don't think this is going to be the ending of, I think a lot of people are calling it like the Avengers Endgame type of ending that we're kind of expecting for night 2. I think this is mainly going to be just a straight tag team match. I do imagine Solo getting involved in some way. I think The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to come out with the win here. I think that it's set up to be Bloodline rules the second night. And I think that you have to send Seth Rollins looking in weak for his match against Drew McIntyre to kind of save face. Because I believe Drew McIntyre is going to beat Seth Rollins clean, or spoiler alert. But I think it's kind of needed to give him to properly explain my reasoning here. And I also, as I mentioned on the last show we did, Current State, I think that they may have planted some seeds for a double turn. And Seth going into night 2 with a loss would certainly enforce that and at least keep that thought lingering. So I don't know how much involvement there will be. I think it will mostly just be, a clean match. I imagine Solo will be involved in some capacity, but I see The Rock and Roman coming out victorious because of making it Bloodline rules, opening up the door for night 2 to be the Avengers Endgame, and for Seth Rollins to carry that loss into night 2 against Drew McIntyre.
That's a very, very logical reason for why The Rock and Roman could win and why Cody and Seth should lose. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter because I think the end of Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes is probably what we all think it's going to be. So this really doesn't matter as far as the outcome of the match, I believe. But it's about the entertainment factor and the possibility of overbooking that we've talked about so many times. Do I think there's going to be interference? Yeah, I think, like you said, Solo Sikoa is probably going to get himself involved. Maybe even Paul Heyman to some limited degree could get involved in this matchup. So ultimately, what do I think? I want Bloodline rules, so I'm going to say Bloodline rules. But you could also, again, if Cody and Seth win, then the Bloodline's banned from ringside, but that doesn't mean somebody who's not in the Bloodline can't interfere in the match where they kind of find a loophole to have somebody help out Roman Reigns in night 2 that's not in the Bloodline and they're not contractually banned from ringside. So there's weird things that they could do to kind of have their cake and eat it too, where, okay, there's no Bloodline rules, but people outside the Bloodline are going to screw Cody. I mean, but who would that be? I don't know. I've heard anything from Seth Rollins to, I mean, who knows? So ultimately, no. My prediction is with yours. It's going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns winning because, again, they want to stack the deck as high against Cody as possible. He's beat down. It looks like no one's going to be able to save him. Rock and Roman are standing tall. Maybe even Cody Rhodes is busted open. Maybe Seth Rollins gets busted open at the end of that match. Both men are bleeding, left laying. The Rock and Roman are standing tall, and it looks like Cody has no shot the next night. I think that's a better story to tell, honestly, because one way or the other, I think Roman's going to have interference on his behalf. But you could also say Rock and Roman ends up having some tension. Maybe they start to show some cracks that eventually lead to a match in a year. So there's ways to go here. This is not a match I would put money on, and I'd stay the hell away from this match for sure. But I think the more fun part is, okay, Bloodline rules. Let's see who gets involved. Does Austin come out? All that stuff. So I'm with you. Rock and Roman likely win this match, making it look like Cody is screwed for night 2.
And you want to save that massive rejoicement in the crowd for night 2 if, in fact, you think Cody's going to win. So you don't want to have everyone exhaust their energy by rejoicing in a Cody-Seth victory on night 1, and then night 2, it's not like a letdown. Obviously, it wouldn't be a letdown, but you want to maybe continue that build. Cody's been destroyed for back-to-back weeks leading into this. They've gotten everyone behind Cody because of how weak he's looked and how much the upper hand has gone in the direction of The Rock and Roman Reigns. And just that one final step the night before, stacking the deck completely against him to the nth degree and keeping it open for interference to get that, I know I'm kind of overusing this, but that Avengers Endgame type of finish. I just think it makes more sense, even on the Seth side of things. I think that Seth-Drew McIntyre match is a lot more compelling with Seth going in, coming off of a loss, and it opens up more doors, gives him an out as to why he can maybe lose clean. And again, if you want to do that double turn, that's also a door that you can keep open. I just think that when you weigh both sides, it makes more sense for The Rock and Roman Reigns to come out on the upper end on this one.
Right, and it's The Rock's first match back in, like I said, 12 years. I don't count what Michael Cole said of 8 years. That's ridiculous. We don't count that stupid Eric Rowan match. I'm not even going to call it. Eric Rowan rock bottom is what it was. So no, The Rock is back. He's wrestling a real match here, and I think that The Rock is probably not going to lose his first match back on top of it. I think the crowd is going to be behind The Rock up until the point that, they start getting vicious on Cody Rhodes and beating him down, and it's really uncomfortable and all that. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think the match is not going to be any more than 15 minutes. But hey, maybe it's a lot longer. They want to string this one out, but with The Rock in there and Roman Reigns, you don't want to go too long. You don't also want to risk injury here, because they both have matches, massive matches. 3 out of the 4 men have matches the next night that are arguably more important than the first night. So you're going to want to, I know it's WrestleMania, but you're going to want to take that in consideration. There's the longer they're in there, the higher risk of injury, and you got to be careful. So any final thoughts on main event night 1 match, or are you ready for night 2?
I think I'm ready for night 2.
Well, coming from a super high to a super low, and it's just kind of the way that is here, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament in a 6-man tag team Philadelphia Street Fight, which is another name to say no DQ or Falls Count Anywhere or Bloodline Rules. It's all the same, no rules in this matchup. Do you have a vested interest in this one? What do you think?
You know what? I'm probably in like that 1% who does, because I really like Karrion Kross and the Final Testament. I don't know what it is. I think there's something there with them. I think that this program specifically has been the most affected by The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins eating up so much of SmackDown's time. And the last SmackDown, when they shifted this storyline of, Bloodline and Cody and Seth primarily to Monday Night Raw, I think you saw this program specifically, among others, get more traction than they ever had before, in addition to the U.S. title match and in addition to LA Knight and AJ Styles. And I think that if this program had been given 15 to 20 minutes a week on SmackDown for 4 or 5 weeks, people would be caring about this. Because look at the talent involved. The Authors of Pain, if you rewind 5-6 years ago, they were a damn good up-and-coming tag team. We know what the Street Profits are. We know what Bobby Lashley is. I think Karrion Kross, and I think you share this testament, no pun intended, is a very untapped potential type of guy. I think that this match has the potential to steal the show. And maybe not steal the show, maybe that I'm exaggerating a little bit, but has the potential for a lot of people to come away saying like, oh my God, like they really went above and beyond here, especially with them towing the line of PG-14. If they get blood involved and this gets really vicious, I think this has the opportunity to be the biggest overachieving match. Now, as for who's going to win, I think you have to go with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits just because of merit. I don't think you've built up Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain enough to give them that victory yet, even though I really do like that group just because stylistically I think they're very intriguing. But I just think that given where it's come or where we've gotten to based on the lack of time, you have to go with Lashley and the Street Profits based on merit. But overall, I think this is a big match for an opportunity to really overachieve.
Yeah, I think that while I don't think it'd be match of the night, I think it would be, like you said, the bar and expectation for this match is not high, so it's easy to exceed it. So if you even have a good like a decent to good match, people are going to go, wow, that was better than I thought. So like if the bar is low, people are going to be happy when it exceeds that expectation. I'm fine with the quality of the match. You know what you're getting here. I would agree that the Final Testament has been underutilized, specifically Karrion Kross, who just WWE cannot be consistent with him. And like you said, it is a lot of the Rock, Roman, Seth, Cody thing that has been going on the last couple of months that has taken away. So I feel for them here. They are clearly the number one victim of being neglected or pushed aside for the whole program of the main event. So this to me is a match that is low expectation, but it could come along where they are all 6 of these men are so talented, they're able to bring in the crowd while there may not be a whole lot of initial reaction for their entrances. They may get the crowd involved in a surprising way. By the end of it, people are very invested in who they want to win. Now, as I said, or you said, who do I want to win? I want the Final Testament to win. Do I think they're going to win? No, I think it'd probably go to Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, but I'm going to pick the Final Testament because while Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits have been together a little longer, and they haven't got a whole lot of consistency, that is actually, to me, an argument to break them up. And just not, they don't have to fight. They don't need to be a match. But together, they clearly haven't done anything with them. The focus, I think, should be on the Final Testament. That I think is a longer-term plan than Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. They just don't know what to do with that group. They don't know what to call them. They don't even have a name for them yet. I've heard the Pride. I've heard all this, but it's nothing official. To me, when they have an unfocused group, and they are at WrestleMania, then why would you give them the victory when you could establish another heel faction that has a lot more potential than I think a lot of the casual fans realized? So to me, the Final Testament needs the victory more than Bobby and the Street Profits do. It's a more valuable win for the Final Testament, and I think ultimately, this is tough, but I do think it's going to be the Final Testament that gets the victory here in in the street fight. But I don't know. Again, I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to go Final Testament.
Well, I'm hoping you're right. My prediction, I'm sticking with the Pride. Is that their name? Is it the Pride? Is it not the Pride?
I've heard it, but they don't use it on TV. I've just heard it floating throughout social media, but yeah.
Well, I hope that you're right. I'm just guessing that they'll go with Lashley and the Street Profits. But, I mean, I think the Final Testament's the right call. I'm with you that I'm cheering for them. I think they have more of a ceiling because you haven't really tried with them. You've tried with the Lashley and the Street Profits, but you don't know what you have with the Final Testament. So I'm still sticking with my pick, though.
No, it's good. I think, again, this is a tougher match than people realize. I really think it is. So, all right, LA Knight and AJ Styles. I'll give you my prediction right off the bat. It's got to be LA Knight, right? Like, it's got to be this match. While some people wanted in an LA Knight U.S. title match, I'd rather have him in a one-on-one than in a multi-person. Even if it's a U.S. title match, I'd rather have one-on-one. There's more focus on you. It's showing the fans that they have more trust in you than having you in a tag team match or a 6-person tag team match where you get to kind of share the workload with other guys. This is a lot of trust in LA Knight to have this match with AJ Styles, but you're working with one of the best in the world. LA Knight and AJ could have a match that people come out of there going, wow, this was a match that, on paper seemed good, but this was great. The build has been fine to me. I haven't hated it. AJ Styles playing the cowardly heel, LA Knight coming into AJ Styles' home, and then LA Knight being arrested. When we've seen something like this before, I believe with Orton and Triple H a dozen years ago. But it's something that I think has been fine. The build has been fine. I haven't loved it. I haven't hated it. It's been acceptable to me. And I think ultimately this could be a statement victory for LA Knight's career. I know it's an overused statement, or overused phrase, but I think LA Knight could really use this to push his career to the next level and eventually get into world title or undisputed title contention again. But I hope it's not one of those LA Knight wins and then it goes back to being a ghost on SmackDown. So LA Knight to me gets the victory.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I mean, I think it's relatively predictable. I just we know what AJ Styles is, and he is arguably the best in-ring performer WWE has right now. And of the last 8 years, you could make the case that he's a top 5 wrestler, at least on the men's side in WWE. Like in 16, 17, 18, you would have been hard-pressed to find a better, more popular star than AJ Styles when he was the guy who the house that AJ Styles built was SmackDown Live. But, we're several years removed here from AJ Styles being a prominent player as far as the main event scene goes. And that's okay. And him in his current version of himself is a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, with the black coat, the heel version, a more vicious version because past heel versions were more goofy and comedic. But LA Knight needs this victory. He has certainly cooled off from where he was last summer. And, that's okay. But to your point, I think a win like this, it will be more meaningful than, winning the U.S. title in a Fatal 4-Way match or whatever, or a ladder match or what have you. I think this could be a massive statement win because AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers, even outside of WWE, of the last 20 years. He has that much cachet in the professional wrestling scene. And again, this is a match that has the potential to steal the show when you really look at these guys and what they're capable of in the ring. And another match that probably suffered a bit on SmackDown with the lack of time, but the last few weeks, I think they've done a really nice job of getting people stoked for this match. And it has been a long build since AJ Styles' return in, what was it? Was it December, I believe, when they really started this, when AJ Styles returned to SmackDown right after Survivor Series? So for me, I think that this is going to be a great match. I think it's one that should get a lot of time, but like you, I'm going with LA Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm what more to say about it than that? It's a match that I don't think it's talked about enough, and I think fans are going to come away going, yeah, this was one that was worth watching. It's worth your time in the build, or rather, the match exceeded the build. I think that's probably how most fans are going to feel coming out of this. I hope. My fear is that they run out of time or have to cut this match, or they only get 8 minutes or something odd. This needs to go, 10, 12, 15 minutes in the, to really be able to tell their story. And with AJ Styles in the match, I'm not concerned about match quality at all. So, all right, U.S. title triple threat match: Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. My pick on the boy, this is another, it gets tougher and tougher here. I mean, there's a lot of people picking Kevin Owens in this match. I don't think Kevin Owens wins here. I think Logan Paul continues. Logan Paul has done nothing but impress. Love him or hate him. The fact of the matter is he has exceeded all expectations. He's fit right in immediately. Yes, he's kind of an absentee champion. We have enough of those, so we know all that. But every time he's in the ring, he delivers on a massive level. I mean, we are getting a guy that it's a rarity to have anybody, especially somebody coming from an outside sport like boxing or MMA, to come in and just pick things up so quickly. There's a handful of people who have done that. And Logan Paul, who's so young, has so many years ahead of him, where Orton and Owens would not be hurt at all by losing this. I think you could make a strong argument for Logan Paul to retain. I think he's actually the right call. I know Kevin Owens hasn't, done a whole lot as of late in getting big victories, but I believe that Logan Paul needs this, and I think Logan Paul probably does win this. It's not a no DQ, which means brass knucks are in effect, and I think they'll be behind the referee's back. How he does it or where he does it, I don't know against two, but I think Logan Paul capitalizes on either brass knucks or an RKO, and it's Randy Orton's finish that ends up like Logan Paul takes advantage and Logan Paul retains. I'm not confident, though. I'm not overconfident at all on this. That's just my take.
I'm going back and forth too, even up until you start giving your answer, because I was leaning Kevin Owens. But one thing that stops me with it is that if the crowd is going to see a babyface win, don't you think they'd want to see Randy win? And as much as I love Kevin Owens, as much as the fans like Kevin Owens, I feel like that would be kind of a letdown. Now, personally, I think Kevin Owens needs this more than anyone else. He hasn't held a singles championship since 2017. Ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, it was the United States Championship that he dropped to, I believe it was AJ Styles. He needs this, but I don't think the time is right. And to your point, Logan Paul has done an awesome job. I wish to God that he was there more often. I wish that he wasn't so part-time. But when he's there, he's an awesome United States champion. And to be honest, that was a championship that floundered for the better part of a year under Austin Theory and then Rey Mysterio. And it feels legitimate on his shoulder or around his waist. And since he's come into WWE, I don't think he's really gotten that major pay-per-view victory. I guess you could say he got it over Rey Mysterio in Saudi Arabia to win the United States Championship, but that still doesn't feel big. He lost the big one to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania last year. He lost the big one to Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia a year and a half ago. I believe he lost at SummerSlam that year. Was it to The Miz, or maybe he won? But I mean, that's not a huge victory. This is the biggest match aside from the two I just mentioned. And I think he needs this. I don't think he should hold it for much longer beyond this, but I do think if you want to legitimize Logan Paul, and he is certainly a badass, he certainly is legitimate, this is a good victory to put his way.
It is. It's one that I think he'll be able to brag about forever. I think the victory by Orton or Owens doesn't really help them in any way. I mean, again, Kevin Owens not winning a singles championship in that long, that's a striking statistic. In 7 years he hasn't won? That's a lot of time. But at the same time, he main evented WrestleMania last year. He won the tag titles in the main event of night one last year with Sami Zayn. He does and has had main event match after main event match. Yes, he hasn't won a singles title, but it still feels like he's a big time player. And I don't know if he would be helped by winning the U.S. title. To me, Logan Paul, who's got a lot more work to do than Kevin Owens or Orton, who are, rock solid established in the business, and they're kind of Teflon at this point. Logan Paul, you could use this to have him brag. I beat these two clowns on the biggest stage of them all. You could really do a lot with the Logan Paul victory. And again, it's not to say this is a lock either. Kevin Owens is easily a guy that you could look to, and crazily enough, as big of a star as Orton is, no one's even giving Orton a chance. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but what is Orton going to do at how old he is? Like 47 years old. Even though he's in amazing shape, he's got a few years left in him. It just what is Orton going to do as U.S. champion? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But there'll be some fun RKOs in there, and Logan Paul, I think, is the favorite.
Yep, same here, and it's probably the right call. I mean, I do think Kevin Owens should eventually get a United States championship. Like, it's crazy that he hasn't held a singles title in almost 7 years, but the time and place just doesn't feel right. And to be honest, I've actually liked the build of this match. I think the chemistry with Kevin and Randy has been funny at times. I think that their chemistry with Logan has been good. I think all in all, this build has been really, really good for all three men. And my pick, like you, is Logan Paul coming out, retaining the championship.
And that's also another point like you made. It's not that Kevin Owens can't ever be U.S. champion again, maybe in a few months. It's just it has to be retained at 40. I don't even care if they give it to him at Backlash. But the fact that he can brag that at WrestleMania 40, the biggest WrestleMania of all time, Logan Paul defeated Randy Orton and Kevin Owens at the same time, which he'll claim, something wild. That to me is a bigger statement, there's more value in Logan Paul winning than any value being added to Kevin Owens or Randy Orton. So again, yeah, sure, Kevin Owens can absolutely be U.S. champion. It's just not yet. Maybe in like a couple of months even, I'd be fine with it. But this to me is a way to really establish Logan Paul and put him on the map in an even bigger way. So, all right, on to this next match here. And this may be outside of the Damage Control, Naomi, Cargill, Belair match, the most predictable, and really there's no other way to go here, guys, with Bayley versus Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship. There's just no way to go. You can't keep Io champion. You just can't do it. Sure, she's gotten a little more interesting over the last few weeks, but only because they had to make her more interesting because it's WrestleMania and she hasn't cut a promo yet. I mean, she's been invisible as the women's champion up until the last month. I mean, she just has. The Bayley Royal Rumble victory has been overshadowed by so much other stuff, and I feel bad for Bayley on that. But the build has been good, and I've enjoyed it. And Bayley's attack on Io during the pre-taped interview was unexpected and fun. But there's just you can't have Io Sky retain, even if it's for the simple fact of, well, it's doing it for unpredictability for unpredictability's sake is a bad strategy. So I would not implement that. Bayley has to win here. And I say that with 100% confidence. Do I think that's 100% that she'll win? No, I think it's about 95 from WWE's perspective, but I'm picking Bayley. It's not even a thought from me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Bayley. I mean, the build hasn't been great to this. It certainly is kind of crappy given the fact that Bayley won the Royal Rumble and she has kind of taken a backseat to not only the other women's championship match, but the six woman tag team match involving her opponent's faction. But again, this is a potential for a match that could steal the. I say that a lot, and you can't have like 80 show stealers. But I mean, I do think that you have the potential for a lot of matches to make up for the lack of build. And I think that has kind of been a hallmark under the Triple H era, is when a build doesn't feel up to par, going into a pay-per-view, the matches and the in-ring performance can outshine that and make up for it. I think this is one of those instances. And look, people inherently like Bayley. They organically wanted to see her turn babyface, and they're going to get that. And I really do think Bayley walks out as women's champion here. There is no option but this. She hasn't been women's champion since, I believe, the end of 2020 when she dropped it to Sasha Banks inside Hell in a Cell. So I'm just hoping that they could put on a performance like we know that they can that will make up for the build that was very lackluster.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be, and again, the quality of the match I haven't even really talked about, but I think that isn't again. Honestly, I'm not worried about any of the match qualities on any of the card here. These are all professionals that are capable of extraordinary matches. But these two women, I haven't really seen in a long form yet. Do I think that it's going to be a blowaway match? Do I think it's going to be match of the night? I don't. But my other thought is this: Bayley's probably going to win. Io Sky has been underwhelming, to say the least, as women's champion, and that's not a slight on Io. It's more of a kind of a knock on creative. But two things with the Triple H regime, like you said, some of the hallmarks of Triple H's regime. I think one of them has been long title reigns, but the long title reigns have a purpose, and that is when a title changes hands, it actually means something. There's a reason. There's a long-term idea. There's like a thought behind it. There's logic behind it. Whereas when Vince McMahon was in charge forever, especially towards the end, it was kind of like, let's just change it to change it and change things up. It feels stale, so just giving it to this person with no real idea or plan, and it oftentimes crashed and burned. But with Triple H, it seems he's very methodical and very conscious of title changes. And when he does it, it's supposed to mean something. Not every single time has been a success, but Triple H has not done a ton of title changes. I mean, he hasn't done none. He's done, I don't know the number, but it feels like almost none, because of under Vince, it felt like every other week. But so that's one thing. The other thing is, I'm thinking, Charlotte Flair, as I've been watching her over the last several months, has really been busting her ass in the gym. It looks like when I look at her that didn't even have knee surgery, and she looks like she could at least, if possible, do something limited to distract Io Sky. And if I recall, I could be wrong, when the injury happened, it was actually Asuka, right, that accidentally injured her. So there's something to be said for maybe Charlotte making an appearance, not doing anything wild, but she could do something limited safely and kind of even things out there and make an appearance. I think the crowd would go crazy for Charlotte if she came out at the right time, where it looks like, oh my God, Damage Control is going to screw Bayley again, and here comes Charlotte Flair, and maybe some way, somehow she helps Bayley. Makes sense. I don't know.
No, for sure. I think so. Like, I would prefer there to be no hanky-panky. I think a lot of these championship matches should be resolved with no outside interference and no tomfoolery. And I think this match, because theoretically the goons of Damage Control should be neutralized on night one, I would like it to just be woman on woman. I think we saw how significant that could be with Rhea versus Charlotte last year, in which was in my opinion, the best match of both nights. So I'm hoping it's just Bayley versus Io. But to your point, I think Charlotte's impending return presents another option to go up against Bayley, because I don't remember the last time we had any type of Bayley-Charlotte long-term one-on-one rivalry. And then you also have Jade Cargill. You also have Bianca Belair. Who knows what's going to happen if they do the WWE draft? I just think that's run its course with Io Sky, and it's been lackluster. It hasn't been great. I still think that they pulled the trigger way too early on her cashing in the Money in the Bank, but it's been okay. They've done the long-term storytelling. I think they tried to emulate kind of like the Evolution Batista stuff from 2005, but I just hope that there will be this match with no, I guess, monkey business from outside interference, just because I think at WrestleMania, most title matches should have that type of finish.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Just from history, from the way that they've acted, the group acts, it seems possible that you have one or two or three members of Damage Control try to help Bayley, and if they do, I could see a scenario where Charlotte does make a cameo appearance. Not that she's making a full return yet, but you want, if she's close, I mean, I'd be advocating for her as well. If I was Charlotte, I'd be trying to find a way to at least make an appearance. I'm sure she wants to. There's that desire, I'm sure. So All right. Well, now we get to the final two matches. We get to the big ones here. Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, World Heavyweight Championship. I know you kind of tipped your hand a little bit already, but it hasn't been a secret for weeks. I kind of think the listening audience knows kind of where we both land here, and my thoughts haven't really changed, and that's that Drew McIntyre captures the world title. But I guess add to that, like, how does that happen, do you think? Do you think it happens because he lucks into it like he's been lucking into so many of his victories? Do you think it's clean? How do you think this match goes?
I think it will be clean, technically speaking. I don't think he's going to hit a low blow or have someone interfere on his behalf or use a weapon to help him secure the victory. But I think they're going to play on the fact that Seth Rollins wrestled the night before and he is beaten down, kind of like what they've done with Shinsuke Nakamura and what they've been playing on for the better part of the year. And during his world championship reign, that he is beaten down and he does need a break and his back might give out on him. And then he is coming off of a knee injury that he suffered against Jinder Mahal, and that he hasn't had a one-on-one match save for his match against Solo this past week since that match against Jinder in late January. And I just think they're going to present Drew McIntyre as what he's been, just an opportunistic guy that will do anything to walk away with the World Heavyweight Championship. And I think that's how it's going to go. And I think that it's something that we're ready to see. I think Drew McIntyre has been groomed into one of the more significant faces, not baby faces, but faces of the brand, of not just the Raw brand, but WWE brand in general, despite being overshadowed at times by Roman and Cody and Seth and Rock and whoever. And I think it's a testament to what kind of work they've done with his character, the long-term storytelling they've done going back to early last fall. And I think that it presents a whole new crop of main event talent for him to feud with. They've planted seeds going back to Survivor Series season with Damian Priest. What's going to happen with that Money in the Bank briefcase? You have the Clash at the Castle in Scotland coming this summer. I imagine Drew McIntyre is going to play a significant role in that, given the fact that he's from there. I just think it's a perfect storm for Drew to get his moment 4 years in the making after he won his first ever world championship in front of no one due to the COVID-19 pandemic at WrestleMania 36 against Brock Lesnar. So that's how I think it's going to go. I really think that it's going to be Drew McIntyre just exploiting Seth Rollins' weaknesses, but not necessarily doing anything by hook or crook.
That's the way it should be in this one. I understand he's a heel. I get it. And honestly, most of his victories have just been his opponents taking their eyes off of him, and that's their fault. That's their problem. And he's gotten lucky in some of his victories, but he hasn't done anything, like you said, low blows behind the referee's back. He's won, but it's been because of the lack of intelligence of his opponents, and that's not his fault. So I think that, yeah, on top of the fact that Seth is going to be wrestling the night before, and if he gets beat down at the end of that match, there's even more ways or reasons to have Drew win that match. But it also just feels right. It's time for Drew. And, you know, the biggest reason for me, if I was booking this, would be the fact that, you know, the human being Drew McIntyre, to me, deserves this. I don't care what role he's playing, good guy, bad guy. He deserves this moment after being screwed out of it 4 years ago with the pandemic. I mean, and I still think of that and how uncomfortable it was and how angry he must be and frustrated he must be that he gets it finally and no one's there and some unprecedented event across the world happens. So I think he deserves it. I think the fans will actually be receptive to this. I really don't believe the fans are going to boo the hell out of Drew McIntyre because they understand on a human level, like a real person level, that this is bigger than who's we're supposed to cheer or boo. I think the fans in the moment will get caught up in the moment and cheer Drew McIntyre when he wins this, when he wins the belt. Now, on the other side, and by the way, that's my pick too. If he doesn't win, I mean, to me, I think that could really hurt Drew. There's no reason, no explanation you could give me for Drew to not win this, because it would hurt Drew. It also hurts Seth because the fans would, I think, start to really turn on Seth when they have been ready to embrace a Drew McIntyre a title reign for a long time now.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, how would you come back from that? You couldn't, because this is, you know, his third crack at this. And I just think that given where Seth is coming from, in the fact that he has had the, you know, well-documented several injuries, and he is going to be distracted with the bloodline match the night before, and he will likely be, feeling some bumps and bruises from that match. If you make Drew lose, then what can you do to bring back the Drew McIntyre character with any type of legitimacy or credibility? And for me, the answer is nothing. And they've been planting seeds for this, that Seth will take Drew for granted. And he is at the bottom of his, radar. And he does have bigger fish to fry. And to me, they're positioning this entire match for Seth to take Drew lightly, Seth to come in not at 100%, and for Drew to do what he's been doing for months, and that is to take advantage of other people's weaknesses or distractions. And maybe it's not the most, upstanding way to go about your business, but from a pure competition point of view, I think it's like what anyone would do. If you were on a hockey team or a football team, you would exploit your opposition's weakness. It's just, human nature. And I think that's why this Drew McIntyre character, while predominantly a heel, has a very big part of him that you can relate to, because he's doing things that the average person would do. And that is why I believe when this match is over, you'll probably see Seth Rollins shake his hand and do somewhat, maybe not a passing of the torch, but they will embrace in some way. Maybe then you could officially, move Seth Rollins to the, not disabled list, but, move him into the background for a bit, maybe take a few months off. I think it's well needed. And then you will maybe have a confrontation, a stare down between Drew and CM Punk, who CM Punk will probably be at commentary. I just think, again, not to say it's predictable, but I think that the right path is relatively obvious, and it's one that I think most people would be on board with.
Yeah, I don't think Punk is going to have a massive say in this. I know he's going to be at commentary. It's just to keep his presence on WrestleMania, and I respect that. I get it. He'll be fine at commentary. He's good at commentary. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. But yeah, he could have a stare down. I don't know what physical thing he could do. If at all, I would keep him kind of out of that and just build towards when he can come back and actually get physical with Drew. But yeah, this is to me Drew's moment. It's time. And honestly, to be honest, it's kind of funny. Both Seth and Becky are in the same place in their careers where they both kind of need some time off. Yep. They both kind of need to recharge. They both feel the same way, and Becky more so. But even Seth, who, if he's injured, give him time off to get himself prepared. No better time. There's no better time than right after WrestleMania to go away, either just to recharge your batteries or to go get surgery and fix whatever problems you have.
And let me ask you, Matt, quickly. If you look at the outlook of Raw's main event scene, and this isn't taking the draft into consideration, but beyond WrestleMania, right up until Survivor Series, you can survive without Seth Rollins. I mean, let's just for a second assume Cody's going to go to SmackDown as the champion. You could get a lot of months out of Drew and Damian Priest with the cash in. Maybe they trade the title back and forth sometimes. You planted seeds there. If the Judgment Day is going to break up, then you could move Finn Balor into that role. Gunther's floating around. Sorry?
Jey Uso.
Yeah. Whenever CM Punk returns right around Clash at the Castle, you could send him into that role. You do not need Seth Rollins right now. And even on the SmackDown side of things, you're going to have Cody Rhodes presumably there. Randy Orton's still kicking around. You could flex Kevin Owens into that role as well. Bobby Lashley is more than capable of being a main event player for at least a few months. You do not need Seth Rollins for at least 6 months, if not longer. This is a stud-filled roster, not to mention Braun Breaker, who I imagine will go full-time to SmackDown beyond WrestleMania. They have so much talent at their disposal that if they need to give Seth Rollins some time off, and I think the fans need it, I think he needs it both personally and character-wise, then why not do it? You have the luxury to do so right now.
You do. And the other item that we haven't even talked about is Damian Priest cash in, which I would argue highly against. The only thing I could see them doing is if somehow Dom ends up accidentally, quote unquote, screwing Damian Priest's cash in up, which further cements the cracks in the foundation of the Judgment Day, where Dom looks like he did it on purpose or by accident, but it's really on purpose. So I don't know about you, but I don't want a Damian Priest cash in here. There's still some time, but it's just the more I think about it, the more I don't want a Damian Priest to get involved at all.
Well, I just think that Drew deserves this and the fans want it. I don't think people want a Priest cash in more than a Drew win. And I'm not saying Drew has to have a 7-month-long title reign, I fully expect Drew to lose that championship before Clash at the Castle. I'm fantasy booking, or not even fantasy booking, just predicting 3 months in advance here. But I fully expect Drew to lose the championship to a cash-in from Damian Priest, maybe by June, and then that sets up a Drew McIntyre potentially positioned as a babyface going in to regain his championship at Clash at the Castle in Scotland. Like, you don't need to give Drew, or anyone for that matter, automatically a 7th, 8, or 10-month long title reign. There are such things as, short month title reigns that could be impactful. And I think, imagine what he would do for, an Extreme Rules pay-per-view if you got a Money in the Bank cash in there. I think that'd be major to kind of promote a B-level pay-per-view that have otherwise at times not featured world titles. So you could do something like that, and I don't think, much to what you just said, this is the right time to have Damian Priest cash in.
No, and that's assuming Damian Priest doesn't cash in on the IC title or whatever. If he goes after the world title, yeah, it's just, I know we talked about it for several weeks, months here on the show, and everybody else has as well. But the more I think about it, you don't want right now. It's not the time. He still has until July to cash it in. That's several months. You can still milk it, and like you said, give Drew at least 3-4 month run, hand it off to somebody. I mean, yeah. So, all right. Let's get to it. The main event, it's here. It's finally here. In 2 nights, we will know exactly what all of this was leading to, what the finish is. We no longer have to pretend to know or project out. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed Universal Championship. Man, oh man. Do you want to take this first?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm going with Cody Rhodes. Much like what we just talked about with Drew McIntyre, I don't know how you come back with a Cody character if he loses in back-to-back years. It would be really tough to build him back up, which I personally wouldn't care about. I want to make that perfectly clear. If his character crashed and burned and I never saw a main event at pay-per-view again, it would be way too soon or way too late, however you want to put it. I would not give half a you-know-what. But objectively speaking, and speaking for the masses, and I know that we are vastly outweighed in our opinion of Cody Rhodes, I think he has to win. They've really stacked the deck against him. He's been beaten down in back-to-back Monday Night Raws, looking very weak. I think he's going to be coming off of a loss on WrestleMania Night 1. And I think they've positioned us in a way to brace for Roman Reigns' run to come to an end. And I don't think that the release of his A&E doc was a coincidence by any stretch. I think it was maybe a wink and a nod to yeah, you guys have hated on us for maybe almost 2 years now. That's been going on too long, but maybe you don't know what you have until it's gone. And I'll tell you, after watching that documentary, I've thought man, have we taken it for granted? And on a side note, I think that we haven't taken it for granted when he's there. It's only been when he's not there. If he was full time, I would be okay with him going maybe another year because he is that damn good, but I digress. I just think that they've done everything to position a new era, ushering in a new generation in WWE. And Cody Rhodes, for me begrudgingly to admit it, is the face of that. And objectively speaking, and taking my personal bias out of it, is probably the right guy for that. And I don't know how you position him in on any bigger of a stage than on Sunday night at WrestleMania 40. The stars are aligning for him. You can't have him lose back-to-back matches in consecutive years against Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. Like I just outlined, all the weeks of him having the deck stacked against him. I think this is going to be a very overbooked match, but at the same time, I think we're kind of preparing for that. I think we see maybe Austin, maybe Cena, like I said, an Avengers Endgame type of story here, but I think it will all end with Cody Rhodes having his hand raised as the new undisputed champion.
So, is it sad that the thing I'm looking forward to most in this match is a stunner on the Rock? Seriously, I keep fantasizing about it, and it's a real possibility, as we've talked about, and really WWE has provided Easter eggs for us throughout the weeks, especially the one with the parking lot beatdown on Cody, where the background had the faces of Cena and Austin lit up purposefully in the background of the Rock. I don't think that's by accident. So there's a very real possibility, which to me is just so nostalgic. It makes me all feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I really am. But honestly, I think it is Cody's time. Begrudgingly, it is. It is time for him to win. Could he come back from this? Sure. Would I love to see how the fans react on Twitter and in person for a Cody Rhodes loss? Yes. To me, the more interesting finish is Cody losing. To me, that's way more interesting because once again, where we thought it was a foregone conclusion that Cody wins for the second year in a row, he doesn't. And I think the heat would be all over the company. But you know what? As many fans that they say would, oh, no, I'm done watching. Nonsense. You would tune in the next night, the second they go on the air, because you'd be so angry that once you're that angry, you are now emotionally invested. And anger is a hell of an emotion when you're that angry at the company to see what they do. You would not stop watching. In fact, I think the opposite would happen. You'd get more viewership because the social media hashtags would blow off the charts. You would have an uprising that we've never seen in wrestling. There is a strong case to be made for Roman to continue if you want to go on that bandwagon, on top of the fact you have Hogan's record this far away, and officials in WWE realize they are not in their lifetimes going to have an opportunity again to have a champion that you think you could hang on to. There has to be a heel. You can't have a babyface do this. As a heel champion for a 4-year reign, you're not going to have another opportunity literally in our lifetime to do that. I don't see anyone on the roster who would do it, nor do I think they would even try to do it again. So there's a case to be made. There's a case to be made for Roman Reigns to retain. The people think it doesn't exist. It does. That Hogan record, we're going to find out how much they value that Sunday night. Yes. Do I think it's going to be overbooked? Yes. Like you said, if we expect it, then it's not as bad, I guess. I think Austin will be there. I think Cena will be there. I think Jey Uso will be there. And it's going to be some stunners, some FUs, or rather attitude adjustments. It's going to be fun. And then it's going to be a 3 crossroads in a row victory, 1, 2, 3. So yes, do I think Cody's going to win? I do. But I just want people to at least have that small little seed of doubt. I want to plant that in your brain and water it, because it's possible. It's possible that Roman Reigns does retain.
No, I think it is as well. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And to be honest with you, Matt, if he was full-time, if we could get Roman Reigns there, not wrestling every week, but there for every pay-per-view, and let's say there every second SmackDown, I would be okay with him going another year. I'm being honest, because it has been a brilliant run. And personally speaking, I think the main gripe I've had with it, if not the only major one, has been the fact that he's not there enough and the championship has felt like it's been held hostage. That's the only reason why I think so many people have, I guess, vocally been so against Roman Reigns continuing his title run. And I do think that a lot of us are going to rue the day when we beg WWE to take the title off of him. And I think that was kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod by WWE saying that to us when they released the A&E doc. Like, okay, you're getting what you want, but this is what we're going to be losing. And I do think that the Cody Rhodes fire is going to burn out quicker than people think. Because once he conquers his stupid story and it's all, hunky-dory and farts and rainbows, then what? Then how dull is it going to be week to week? It's going to be nice having an undisputed champion there every week for sure. But then what is the next step for Cody Rhodes? Because as much as people don't want to admit it, he has been very, very, very one-dimensional since coming back to WWE 2 years ago. He has. It's been finishing his story. Dusty Rhodes is my dad. Oh, whoa, fireworks. My hair's blonde, my dog. Like, it's very shallow and it's one-dimensional. And once he gets to finishing his dumb story, then what? So, I'm with you. I think that in a world where Roman Reigns was at least semi-full-time, it would be the much better option. But I just think that given the circumstances of Roman's schedule and how they've positioned everything, we have to brace for it.
Yeah, I think, again, the argument as we're making, I think it's possible, and there is a case to be made, as we just said. But Cody seems to be the right guy, as you just mentioned, with Roman Reigns prepared to take time off after WrestleMania. The only thing I have to say about that is, well, it's kind of like every other year. It's just kind of business as usual then. Roman Reigns does disappear after WrestleMania. So, it's not different than the last 4 years. So, that to me isn't really evidence that he's dropping it and taking time off because he's dropping it. It could just be he's doing what he normally does every year after WrestleMania. So, again, I think that this is going to be the match quality is going to be, I think, even better than last year. There's going to be some awesome false finishes. The only thing I'm looking forward to less than the Cody Rhodes victory is Cody Rhodes the next night on Raw opening the show and him like probably like shedding tears and bringing his dog into the ring, and his mom is there and he's presenting the championship to his mommy, and we're all supposed to just cry in unison with Cody Rhodes' tears of joy. I'm not even, that sounds like an exaggeration, but I can imagine this happening Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, him opening the show as the champion, and we're all supposed to just, weep uncontrollably and sob for Cody Rhodes as he stands there and he tears up and, he tells us, well, I hope you guys are entertained, like, come on. I mean, so that to me is what I'm looking forward to the least out of all of this, is how we're supposed to feel the next night on Raw with Cody Rhodes coming out and probably crying like a child in front of us.
No, it's going to be awful. And be careful what you wish for, people. Be careful what you wish for. Because once Roman Reigns F's off and his title reign is done, and hey, I'm not, walking back what I've said. I've been very vocal that I want the title reign to end. But and as much as I, despise Cody Rhodes, I'm okay with him getting the title back and keeping it relevant week over week. That doesn't mean that I like it. I just think it's the lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. But if Roman Reigns was full-time, or like I said, even semi-full-time, even if he had the Brock schedule from, 15, 16, 17, I think I'd be okay with this. Because if you were there every pay-per-view and you were there, every second SmackDown, that's enough. And I actually think that, as we've seen on Monday Night Raw with Seth at times, there is you get to a point of diminishing returns. There has to be a separation between the world champion and the rest of the roster. And a perk to being the world champion is not having to fight on free TV or be there every week. But it's just gone to such a point with Roman that I think 2023 was really like the straw that broke the camel's back, with the gap between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. But as much as I want Cody Rhodes to win just to get the title there every week, I'm fully expecting myself to not be okay with it and absolutely hate the run, and probably tune out of SmackDown more than I ever have since 2020 when Roman first started this run.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the ratings say after all this. And one little final point on this before we kind of wrap it up is, if anyone didn't see, The Rock had a interview I think it was today, with the Will Kane show, and he admitted that this wasn't the original plan. So I think we can put it to rest for all the people that still care. Well, did WWE do this on purpose? Was it supposed to be a swerve?
He actually admitted it?
Yes, it's WrestleMania.com. It's on their Twitter feed. It's about a 50-second clip. He admitted it's on air, so we can put that to rest, that if it was by design or not. It was not by design, according to The Rock, that it was supposed to be Rock and Roman one-on-one for the championship. The question, of course, is now, because the opponent's different, does the outcome of that match change? Were they planning on dropping the belt to Rock? And if so, are they going to still drop the belt to Cody? And conversely, if the idea was to have Rock lose to Roman for the championship, would they still do that for Cody? I mean, that's a question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, kind of an interesting one, just because now we have a different person facing Roman. Is the booking changed, Well, any final thoughts on this? Because I have two very quick, one follow-up question regarding returns, and then we'll wrap it up. Any final thoughts on this, though?
No, I think I've given my my state of opinion enough on this. I don't want to go down to Cody rant, which I feel is coming if I go any further.
Well, wait till tomorrow, Monday Night Raw. Oh my God, it's going to be
sobbing, crying,
horrific.
Fireworks.
A statue of his. They could bring the statue of his dad and put the belt on the statue.
Who's his dad?
What? I don't. Crap, I forgot the name.
Was he a wrestler?
No, there's. I don't think. Wait a minute. I'll have to Google it. Somebody needs to tell me. Some listener out there. I can't remember the name of Cody's dad. I forget what profession he was in, though. If somebody can email me, please, because I just it's being erased from my mind. But that said, okay, so we're wrapped up on that as far as Cody and Roman goes. We both believe Cody's going to win, but there's a chance Roman still remains, and they want to take Hogan's record out that bad. And also the internet would blow up, which is so interesting to me. I will pop out of my mind if Roman Reigns retains in a good way. All right. So the last question I have for you is regarding returns. Of course, we talked about Austin. We talked about Cena, which we believe might get involved on night 2. what do you think about Undertaker? Do you think he'll make an appearance as far as like maybe just coming in to choke slam somebody and like some heel runs his mouth on in some promo and then Undertaker comes out and choke slams somebody?
I think that you're going to see a Bo Dallas appearance in some way.
There you go. That was my next question. Yeah,
I think that you have to. Again, I don't think it's coincidental that they dropped that documentary when they did. Obviously, Austin, Cena, we've already touched on that. The Undertaker, I hope to God not. I don't want to see him do anything physical. I think he's found a nice kind of niche as like being involved in every single documentary that WWE drops and even narrating some now with the Bray Wyatt one. I just leave Undertaker out of the ring. The last few times we saw him, it was pretty tragic, and I don't want to see him get hurt. Aside from that, I mean, maybe the Hardy Boys. I think their contract is up, but again, I think you kind of already went down that path at the WrestleMania you were at in Orlando. So I think that the big, like, to be honest, I don't think you need it. I think you have enough star power here. So aside from Austin and Cena and Bo Dallas, I don't think that we're going to see any big returns.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, again, if the Undertaker, if I hear the gong, I'm not gonna not watch. But I don't want Undertaker in a match. If he comes out, the most I'd want him to do is just hit a choke slam and leave, and then that's it. But I'm not asking for it. But if it happens, I'd watch and be like, okay, cool, nostalgia. But I think more importantly, like you said, Bo Dallas. What would be cool is if he comes out as a tribute to his brother. And comes out, in the Fiend mask, or comes out holding the lantern and giving the entrance of Bray Wyatt, and just maybe saying a few words, or just putting the lantern in the middle of the ring with fog and stuff as a tribute to Bray Wyatt for Wyndham Rotunda. I think that to me would be a cool moment. I think they will do something tributary to Bray through Bo Dallas during that segment if it happens. But yeah, that I would agree with that. So, all right. I think we'll conclude there. This ran a lot longer, but it was needed. It's WrestleMania 40. No bigger WrestleMania than obviously tomorrow night, which begins night 1, 7:00 Eastern time, guys. Probably a 3.5 hour night 1, 3.5 hour night 2. It's typically about what it is, sometimes 4 hours. So about 8 hours of wrestling is coming your way in the next couple of days. And so, any final thoughts before we finally say goodbye before Mania?
I just think it's going to be a really awesome Mania, to be honest with you. I really, really think that this is going to be a great WrestleMania, and one that is going to stand the test of time. I think that recent years we've seen good WrestleManias. I think WrestleMania 38 was really good aside from the main event. 37 and 36 kind of affected by COVID, certainly more so 36. But, the last one that in my opinion stood the test of time was WrestleMania 31. With the heist of the century, Sting versus Triple H. And despite there being bad booking on that end, I think the DX NWO stuff was really cool to see. I think WrestleMania 40 is going to be the next one that goes into that level of standing the test of time that to me I haven't seen since 2015. So that's how I think optimistic I am for this WrestleMania.
I agree. I haven't been this excited for a WrestleMania in recent memory. So this one's going to be a definitive turning point for, I think, the company. I think you're going to see a lot of names being made, a lot of, I don't know if a lot of title changes is really the theme here, but I think match quality, I think star power is going to be the name of the game here, and I'm looking forward to the hell out of this. And I've really enjoyed the 2-night format. I don't think there's any going back at this point. A 2-night event is much more enjoyable. You get to think about 2 nights separately. It's easier to digest. Everything's not 8 hours long. I think that this is a forever format, and it's been awesome. So, all right. Well, I think we'll stop there. You enjoy WrestleMania, and we'll be chatting on Monday with a lot to talk about.
Looking forward to it, man. Enjoy this weekend.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.